Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to your home for Deadlock News, Deadlock Weekly. I'm not saying that the December patch is right around the corner, but it's the last day of November and the leaky faucets pipe has burst. When we've had this much info in the past, it's usually not that far away. So we're getting into the leaks, the balance patches, the pro matches, as well as our normal weekly items. And obviously, we're going to finish off reading your comments. So if you want to stay in the loop with all things Deadlock, be sure to subscribe. And so the first thing on our docket this week is the balance patch and its fallout. It's kind of continuing on little patches after that, and it's some pretty effective deathball nerfs that came through in some follow-up patches to last week's balance patch. This week, say that 10 times fast, I bet you can't. There were some walker changes this week for scaling health, so that the first walker is weaker and the third walker is strongest, and I really like this change. I think it's a very creative way to still allow split pushing, but ensure the game goes on longer, which clearly is their goal here, and it's a huge part of what killed the egregious deathballing. Before this change, you just were literally not a threat to a walker as a split push until basically 20 or 22 minutes. There were a ton of games that I had where it was 30 minutes in and like every single walker was at like a quarter of health because you just had to keep pushing and then dying and then just keep pushing and dying. I wrote that first part and then played a bunch more games yesterday, and I think the final walker though may be a little bit too strong now. I played a few games where the winning team just ignores the final walker, which I think that it's cool that like you can do that, but the fact that it happened multiple times yesterday for me in Oracle games was just, it's strange, and I have to imagine that if it's happening that much already, it's only going to get worse as time progresses. Then guys, as we move beyond our balance patch and into our leak talk, the big overarching piece of info that we got this week from Minesweeper was that these heroes, they are going for a set of high skill gap heroes, and we got some info on some of the heroes that we talked about last week, particularly Rem. We got a look at a couple of his abilities, the first one being Tag Along, which allows you to hop onto an ally and take a nap, where you can't shoot or cast abilities, but you can use items, and any and all healing / barriers are shared. And so this guy is going to be devious when he's got like heroic aura and vamp burst or something and he just jumps onto a Haze's head. I love how much of like a hard support locked into supporting one guy this person is. Like I think it's cool that we have kind of like the general supports like Dynamo, Doorman, McGinnis. I think it's really cool that we're gonna get like a guy who just grabs onto somebody and makes them much more powerful. Like, will you be able to use 2 Vampiric Bursts, and will they stack? Like, how will that work? When he gets on your head, is he going to block you from using items? I think it'll be very interesting. And then his ultimate, jump into the air and do an AoE sleep, dealing massive damage on the wake up. So I wonder if Rem here has some type of supernatural abilities or something similar to Doorman, because it seems like he has a lot of power for just a sleepy little fella here. That is a crazy ult to jump up into the air and sleep. I assume everyone who maybe can see him that's, you know, a similar range to like 7 ult or something like that. And so the setups for CC out of that will be insane. And Strawman Studio actually also pointed out in Discord that he likely has some connection to the OSIC and Haze, the Sandman, which is that's a great point. Then guys, we did get a little bit more info on Fencer, who is actually a hardcore tanking frontliner, which is not what I expected, but alright, I'm here for it. And they have one of the highest skill ceilings in the game. And we're still waiting for a lot of info on Fencer, unfortunately. One hero that we did get a bunch more info on this week as well, though, was Graves. We know pretty much her whole kit. We know that she's got a wall and an AoE bomb ability, and then we did get some details for 2 other ones. First, Shambling Ghoul, which raises a ghoul that shambles forward and explodes on impact, stuns the enemy, and that seems OP as fuck, especially if these damage values are right. I know that the cooldowns were altered to protect the source of wherever these leaks came from, but unless the damage is also unaltered, that seems crazy, especially when you combine it with her ult Borrowed Decree, which is create a gravestone that constantly unearths ghouls. The gravestone can be destroyed by a heavy melee, and it has here that you can do 3 gravestones. I wonder if this is like a charge ability or something like that, where you can pop up multiple of them, or maybe, you know, that's a number that's going to change in the future. But I will say, Grave seems really cool, but I will say she doesn't seem all that difficult based off what we're seeing here. Not really all that high skill ceiling, at least it seems like for me. Then guys, we got some more info on Silver, our werewoman, the werewolf character. We learned that they're a bounty hunter or something similar. They've got some handcuffs as a part of their character design, and their melee form is still rather unfinished. It looks like this is one of the more unfinished heroes, guys, but she gets much stronger, largest model in the game when she goes into the melee form. Like, it seems like it's a completely different character, and the source emphasized how massive it is. And the way that the transformation actually works, you can either choose when to transform, or you can transform at a threshold threshold, which right now is around critical HP, so it doesn't work like how Frank's ult works, where you need to die or you must hit like a certain thing in order to ult. You theoretically can choose, you know, when you want to go werewolf mode and, I don't know, go full Twilight, I guess. I didn't actually watch those movies, but I saw a lot of wolves, people turning into wolves. I know they're vampires, but it doesn't all make sense to me. And so, guys, this is where we enter the speculation station, but I can say the amount of work on Rem done in the past few weeks has been insane. He's gone from a completely unfinished model to one of the more polished heroes of this batch. And I'm not saying polished in terms of complete, I'm saying just there's the leaked image this week that is head and shoulders much further along than where he was a couple of weeks ago. And so they are clearly focusing work on Rem, if not the most of the 6 heroes in general. A month or so ago, we were getting a lot of leaks as it related to the map and objectives, and now we're hearing a lot about heroes, so I wonder if the work has shifted. And so I'm not dumb enough to say that these people are definitely coming, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Fencer, Rem, Graves, and Venator in the next update, and I'm still pretty confident that ARAM is coming as well. Remember, speculation station, but I think we'll get into the map changes with the Asylum, the base changes. Perhaps maybe next week I'll try and pull together everything I know or think will be in the update because, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we are getting a lot of info. And in the past, we've only gotten this much info leaked when we were getting pretty close. Then, guys, we move into Winrates Weekly. We actually got to start with a little bit of housekeeping. I've got a poll running. Do you guys think we should move Winrates Weekly to Ascendant Plus instead of Phantom Plus for the high rank win rates? I'm leaving that, guys, up to you. It's in our pinned comment in the post, or it's in the pinned comment in the comments. The poll is, so go down there and vote. And next week or for Friday, we will have the results of that poll activated for Winrates Weekly. And so as we actually jump into our chart here, we got Dynamo on top. I mean, guys, he's OP. What can I just say? You're getting a ton of value out of him for every little thing right now, whether that be the Stomp or, I mean, just the Quantum Entanglement is one of the best abilities in the game, and so is the ult, as long as you hit it. And the healing is just a fantastic kit piece. And I've been playing a bunch of Lash again, and let me tell you what really grinds my gears is that if there's a small plank, a stone, a stair, a piece of masonry, or any other minuscule bump, Lash's Slam does not go up or around it. But Dynamo's Stomp goes around walls and through buildings like a Tomahawk missile, and that drives me nuts. Then we've also seen Drifter get a big boost. It's really just, you know, it's helpful when you have this gun meta that's maybe not a gun meta. I'm not convinced we're in a gun meta. It still seems very prevalent around bursty heroes, but gun is much more viable, especially with these 4.8k spikes, and it makes that Rend build extremely potent if you're going for the Rend build, which is what we saw a lot of in Night Shift this week. Then, guys, 7 got a big boost as well. Not that his win rate was really that low. He did get a little bit of a bump, but he's got a lot more relevancy in my games this week, and we'll talk more about it later because I did ask for some comments about it last week. But yeah, I think Ball Build has made him much better again because it gives him an excuse to buy escalating exposure, and that kind of stun into Ball is just, it's really potent again. And yeah, certainly seems like 7's back to some degree. And the common theme here, guys, is I will say it's the easy characters that are on top. And granted, you know, Mina, Shiv, they're always going to have low win rates because they do take time to spin up. But I do think that there are some heroes, these easier heroes, that really benefit from the 4.8k spike much more than others. People like Infernus, Drifter. I mean, even Lash. People get scared about Lash because they think that he's hard, but I think the Lash is honestly so easy. The only thing that you need to think about the second that you figure out how the abilities work is just get high, get in the air, and you're fine. Like, the rest of the game is easy. And so some heroes, I think the ones that have the biggest 4.8k spikes and the easiest ones to pilot, that Venn diagram is what you're seeing at the top of the win rate chart this week. Then, guys, we'll continue some of our hero talk with our eSports Roundup. The draft here is completely changed this week, guys. Kelvin is out and Drifter is in. Kelvin only got picked, I think, twice, and it's largely because the 4.8k spike change has made Drifter's snowballing ability just so strong, and the Kelvin change is just gutting his gut and drastically increasing his ult cooldown. The pros are just valuing Drifter this week, and it shows why once we get into the stats here. Because in Europe, it is death, taxes, Abrahams. They just annihilate Leviathan 2-0. And real quick, Obi-Kim from Buff Enjoyers did actually join Leviathan, so they've got quite a little roster there. But yeah, Abrahams looks more and more dominant every week. Map 1, it was a 19-minute affair, which is as fast as you can win a Deadlock game now. You cannot win it any faster. The second map, it was closer, but a still convincing Abraham's win. Then guys, in North America, it was a little bit closer. The Melee Creeps win over Bunny with Clock 2-0, and the Sneaky Golems actually got blocked out at the Challenger match by BWC, and so, you know, just how times have changed. That Sneaky Golem has got a fight to get into the finals match, and the way the casters were talking about it this week, everybody's ready for another Melee Creeps BWC match. Sneaky Golems is an afterthought in North America at this point. And I think it's clear watching these two teams play over the past couple weeks that Melee Creeps, they are the better team, but the gap is getting closer, and BWC is getting better, and I think that they're closer to Melee Creeps than any team was to Hydra Nation at their peak dominance a few months ago. And the turning point on map 1, it was actually a late mid-boss fight that in large part was actually won by Kelvin, even with his lower pick rate this week, doming the crystal and just isolating Billy inside the dome, giving the team time to kill him and secure that crystal. And then map 2 was a little bit lopsided, but not by much, and the Melee Creeps win yet another night shift. I think this upcoming week will be especially interesting in North America, with a little bit more spin-up time for Melee Creeps and a little more time on the patch. Then guys, our first comment on the public video here. If you guys want to see a much longer version of this episode, once a month I do a director's cut of a Deadlock Weekly episode, which is this week over on the Patreon. So if you want to see me read some more comments, talk more about heroes and balance and leaks, well, actually not leaks, I reveal all the leak stuff on here. I don't put any of that behind a paywall, but yeah, there's a lot of bonus stuff over on Patreon. But our first comment today comes from Tizzyvolt TTV, who says, I have to say, I really enjoy the new soul system from Troopers. Really beneficial to the team that's controlling the bridge, but it doesn't allow them to take out troops as they're spawning. Otherwise, they lose out on souls. Hopefully, we can get an updated crosshair system soon that allows for customization and easier to navigate. And I completely agree. I think the soul changes has made laning much more dynamic, and I love the plays that you make now in order to get close enough to pick up the medkit. I do think it's made it much harder, though, to play heroes like Hesy in lane, where a lot of at least my strategy in lane has revolved around shooting minions from a distance before they can get to the tower, because she's just difficult to play in a lane and take trades otherwise, and now you're really forced into playing otherwise. Luckily, there aren't a ton of heroes that play that way in lane. It's really like her and Wraith honestly still has tools with the cards, and I don't think it's in general a bad thing necessarily for heroes to have a bad laning stage, as long as they make up for it later. And I also completely agree on crosshairs. As you can see, I'm a big custom crosshair enjoyer, and honestly, I'm surprised in all this time no one has ever commented on my Barbie pink crosshair. It's the one that I've used in Counter-Strike. I like the neon pink color. It stands out on literally everything, even if you're playing in a newsroom map where there's a green screen in the studio, which was a problem for like 2 weeks in Counter-Strike when I was 15 years old, but yeah, I'm thinking ahead. Then this one comes from Streak212. I consistently see patch breakdowns leave out that the walkers have had their stomp range drastically reduced. It may not seem like much for many heroes, but for heroes like Abrams and Billy who have drastic damage fall off, this makes walkers significantly easier to take. There's no longer a game of going in and out of stomp range, as it's so small they can get in and do significantly more damage than in the past. Separately, really enjoying a lot of changes except for all the jump nerf. Yes, this is a huge change, and I've actually noticed the first walker can feel really squishy now, partially because of it. I've been playing Infernus, and it's just really easy to dash right under the walker and get fucking huge damage off of it. If Infernus, or really any gun character, and that now includes Billy, gets under the walker before your team gets there, it's going to be really difficult to keep the walker alive if they choose to trade their life for it, which for that first walker, you should definitely trade your life if you can get it, if you can kill it in one push. Their next comment comes from Gold Bear Animations, who said, the Waxmen get larger too. Yes, also this guy has 1.5 million subs, so everybody button up your top buttons and clean up your room. We got royalty amongst us. I think it's like 32 minutes or something, the Candle Troopers, they become 50% stronger, because the idea is that the game should be nearing its end, and so those troopers are going to start doing 50% more damage to objectives, players, etc. to help you out and just get everything to lower HP. And if you guys played with the prior version of the Rejuvenator before it changed over the summer, it actually used to give team-wide buffs, and instead of reviving you in place, it halved the respawn time for you and your team until everyone respawned or the buff ran out. And it also gave you these quote-unquote Rejuve troopers, which were the much stronger troopers that we now see in our game. It might not have been 50%, but they were much stronger, and their model is back. Welcome back, Rejuve troopers. It's good to see that you guys actually did have the Rejuvenator, and you've now been revived. Then guys, talking about 7, this next comment comes from A. Kenny, who said, not sure if 7 is fully good yet, but going full ball build is really fun. Yeah, I asked last week if this were enough for 7, and it certainly seems like it was. Now, the first walker, it's just so squishy, the balls just shred through them, and the stun into ball combo, it feels really potent again. I love when they buff ball 7, because I just think it's such a fun way to play this game, so I'll leave it up to any deniers, but it seems like 7's back on the menu. Then guys, I'm going to see you all much sooner than normal. Deadlock Weekly is moving to a new time starting this Friday at noon. So this next Deadlock Weekly is going to be Deadlock 4 days and 5 nights. And then our first ever Deadlock Weekly Director's Cut is live on Patreon now as well. Once a month, I'm just going to make a double-length Deadlock Weekly, so you can subscribe or join up there to get a much longer version of this episode. We're also doing some playthroughs of other games. It's a good time. Speaking of Patreon, thank you so much to the executive producers Sky and Average Sigma over on the $15 tier who brought you this episode, and all the other YouTube members and patrons as well. So guys, if you want to stay connected throughout the week, be sure to join up on Discord, follow on Twitter. But other than that, I hope you guys all have a fantastic week. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving, and I will see you again next weekend. Peace.